All right, let's dive into this Pattaya real estate scene. You ready to explore some investment opportunities over in Thailand?
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it does, right? Beautiful beaches, vibrant city, and tons of potential. And to help us navigate all of this, we've got this incredible forecast report from Sabai Homes.
Sabai Homes, yeah. They really know their stuff when it comes to Pattaya real estate.
They do. So for our listeners who maybe haven't had the chance to explore Pattaya, what kind of overall picture would you paint of the real estate market there? What are some of the key things that stand out to you?
Well, I think the first thing is diversity. There really is something for everyone in Pattaya. I mean, you've got these beachfront condos.
Oh, yeah. The luxury ones with all the amenities.
Exactly. And then for those who want maybe a little more privacy, there are these amazing secluded villas tucked away. And then, of course, you've got opportunities to tap into that bustling commercial sector as well.
It's interesting you mentioned that because one of the first things that jumped out at me from the Sabai Homes report was the sheer volume of tourism that Pattaya attracts.
Oh, absolutely.
Millions of visitors every year. So naturally, that plays a huge role in the real estate market.
It does. But it's more than just vacation rentals driving this market. One thing that Sabai Homes really highlights is the growing influence of foreign investment.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially with Thailand's laws being pretty favorable to foreign property ownership, right?
Right, particularly for condos. It's a big draw.
And then on top of that, you've got this whole rise of remote work. So you've got digital nomads, you've got expats. They're all flocking to Pattaya, seeking those long-term accommodations.
Absolutely. They want that fantastic lifestyle, and they're willing to settle down for it.
Exactly. So it's not just this transient population. People are really putting down roots, which I imagine puts a lot of pressure on the rental market, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Sabai Homes calls it a rental market boom, and it's fueled by that post-pandemic tourism rebound and this influx of long-term residents.
It's kind of a perfect storm of demand.
Right. And it's not just limited to residential properties either. The commercial sector is feeling the heat too.
Interesting. So when we talk about foreign investment and ownership, are we mostly talking about condos? Because I know land ownership in Thailand can be a bit of a minefield for foreigners.
Yeah, you're right. It can be tricky. Foreigners can own condos outright, but land ownership, that's a whole different ballgame. Leasehold agreements are usually the way to go if you're looking to invest in land or villas.
So those beachfront villas, as tempting as they sound, it's crucial to understand how those leasehold agreements work before diving in.
Absolutely. You don't want any surprises down the line.
Now, let's talk about some of the specific types of properties that are really attracting investors right now in Pattaya. The report from Sabai Homes, it highlights some really interesting trends for 2023 and beyond. What are some of the things that jumped out at you?
Well, one of the big ones, they call it the condo craze. Condos are still a top choice for investors, and for good reason.
I mean, they're generally more affordable than villas, right? Especially those beachfront beauties we were just talking about. But what else makes them so appealing?
A lot of it comes down to convenience and security, especially for those who are new to the market, or maybe they want a more hands-off investment. You know, a lot of these condo developments these days have resort-style amenities. Think swimming pools, fitness centers, rooftop gardens.
It's like living in a luxury hotel, but you own your little slice of paradise.
Exactly.
Although all this condo development, it makes me wonder, is there a risk of market saturation in certain areas?
That's a valid concern, and Sabai Homes does acknowledge that there is a potential for increased competition in some segments of the condo market, but their report really dives deep into specific areas and those micro markets within Pattaya. They highlight which areas are showing a more balanced supply and demand.
Okay, that's good to hear. I was picturing like a ghost town of empty condos.
No, not quite.
So choosing the right location and really doing your research is still super important. Now, what about those investors who are looking for something a little more exclusive, maybe something a little more high-end? We talked about villas earlier. Are those still attracting as much attention as condos?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, Sabai Homes has identified a growing trend they call luxury villa love, and it's particularly strong among those high net worth individuals.
So when we're talking luxury villas, paint us a picture. What are we envisioning here?
We're talking spacious villas with private pools, breathtaking sea views,
Yeah.
you know, top of the line everything. It's all about privacy, exclusivity. It's a level of luxury that you just can't get with a typical condo.
Okay, you're making me want to add own a luxury villa in Pattaya to my bucket list.
Yeah.
But seriously, Where are these luxurious villas typically located, and how does that location play into their investment potential?
You'll find a lot of these high-end villas clustered in those prime areas like Pratumnak Hill, Wongamat Beach.
Potomac Hill, that's the Beverly Hills of Pattaya, Ron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Wongamat is famous for its pristine beaches, and then you've got Jomtien Beach, which has a more relaxed, almost village-like atmosphere.
It's incredible how diverse Pattaya is. There's something for every taste and every budget, it seems. So if you're looking for that luxury villa experience, those are definitely the areas to focus on. But with luxury comes a hefty price tag, right? What kind of returns on investment can someone realistically expect from properties like that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Sabai Homes actually provides data on rental yields and capital appreciation for different types of properties and locations within Pattaya.
Oh, wow, they break it down that specifically.
They do, yeah. And those figures can change depending on the market conditions,
Of course.
but they definitely paint a pretty compelling picture for anyone looking to invest in luxury real estate.
So it's not just about owning a little piece of paradise. It's about the potential to generate some serious income or seeing that capital appreciation down the road. Now, before we get too deep into the financials, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, that booming commercial sector.
Oh, right.
What types of commercial properties are attracting investors in Pattaya, and what's driving that demand?
Well, the commercial real estate scene in Pattaya is really diverse. There's a lot of interest in retail spaces. Makes sense with all the tourists and residents who are looking for shopping and dining experiences. Hotels are another hot commodity.
Especially those boutique hotels, right?
Mm.
Catering to a more, I don't know, exclusive clientele.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like Pattaya is positioning itself as more than just a beach destination. It's becoming a hub for business and leisure.
I wonder, with the rise of remote work, is there still demand for traditional office spaces in Pattaya?
That's a great question, and Sabai Homes addresses it head-on in their report. While remote work is definitely changing things up, there's still a demand for flexible co-working spaces, serviced offices, things like that.
So it's not just about those big office towers anymore. It's about catering to the needs of today's flexible workforce. Makes sense with all the digital nomads and entrepreneurs we were talking about earlier?
Absolutely. This whole shift towards flexible workspaces is actually attracting a new type of investor. Those who are looking to capitalize on those evolving needs of the modern workforce.
So the commercial real estate market at Pattaya, it's kind of mirroring those larger global trends. It's not just about following the old playbook. It's about innovation and anticipating the needs of tomorrow's businesses and entrepreneurs.
You've got it. That's exactly what's happening. And that's one of the areas where Sabai Homes' expertise really shines. They dive into those specific niches within the commercial sector, and they point out those emerging trends and opportunities that someone just casually looking might miss.
This is incredibly insightful. I feel like our listeners are already getting a sense of the potential that the Pattaya real estate market holds. But before we go any further, I think it's important to address the elephant in the room. Investing in a foreign country always comes with potential challenges.
Absolutely, and that's something that Sabai Homes doesn't shy away from in their report. They actually dedicate a good portion of it to outlining those potential challenges and risks associated with investing in Pattaya.
So let's talk about those challenges. Let's help our listeners navigate them successfully. What are some of the key things they should be aware of?
Well, I think one of the first things to consider is the legal framework surrounding foreign property ownership in Thailand. We've talked about the difference between owning a condo and buying land, but there are other regulations and restrictions that foreign buyers need to know about.
So it's not just finding a place you like and signing on the dotted line. There's a whole legal process to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where getting some professional legal advice is so important. Sabai Homes really recommends consulting with lawyers who specialize in these property transactions. Make sure you really understand your rights and obligations as a foreign buyer.
It makes sense. You wouldn't want to get stuck in a legal mess down the line because you didn't do your homework up front.
Exactly. Another challenge that the report brings up is the potential for market fluctuations. Just like any real estate market, Pattaya's is going to be influenced by economic cycles and all sorts of external factors that can affect property prices.
Right. So even though we're seeing all these positive trends in a booming market, it's not like a guaranteed upward trajectory. There could be dips along the way.
Right, absolutely. And that's why Sabai Homes emphasizes the importance of having a long-term investment horizon. They advise against making any impulsive decisions based on short-term hype.
So don't get caught up in the excitement of the moment.
Right. Focus on properties with strong fundamentals. Think location, the quality of construction, the potential for rental income or capital appreciation over time.
So a cautious, well-informed approach is key to navigating those potential ups and downs. But let's say you find that perfect property and you're ready for that long-term investment. What about the practical challenges, like managing a property if you're not living in Pattaya full-time?
Ah, that's another crucial point. Property management is a big part of this, especially if you're not based in Pattaya year-round.
What should our listeners be thinking about when it comes to property management? And what role does Sabai Homes play in all of this?
Well, Sabai Homes actually offers a whole suite of property management services. They cover everything from finding tenants to collecting rent, handling maintenance and repairs. Basically, they act as that trusted intermediary between you as the owner and your tenant.
So even if you're miles away, you can still have peace of mind knowing your investment is being looked after.
Precisely. That peace of mind is priceless, especially when you're dealing with a property in a foreign country. But let's not forget about the financial side of things. We've talked about potential returns, but what about the actual costs involved in buying and owning property in Pattaya?
Yeah, let's break it down. Give our listeners a realistic picture of what they need to budget for. What are some of those key expenses they should keep in mind?
Well, obviously, you've got the purchase price of the property itself, but there are also a number of associated costs that foreign buyers need to factor in: legal fees, transfer taxes, stamp duty, possibly even agent's fees.
Those additional costs can really add up. It's not just about having enough for the down payment. You need to have that cushion for all those extra expenses.
Exactly. And those costs can fluctuate depending on the type of property, the value of the transaction. That's why it's so important to get a clear breakdown of all the costs from your lawyer or agent before you commit to anything.
Transparency is key, especially when you're talking about a big investment in another country.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered the upfront costs, but what about those ongoing expenses of actually owning a property in Pattaya?
Right. Well, one of the biggest recurring costs is going to be property taxes. Thailand has a pretty low property tax rate compared to a lot of other countries, but it's still an expense you need to account for.
Are there different tax rates depending on the type of property? Like if you own a condo versus a villa?
Yeah, there can be some slight variations depending on the type of property and the location. But the good news is that Sabai Homes provides detailed information on property taxes for each area and property category, so you know exactly what you're dealing with.
That clarity and transparency is so important. It seems to be a big part of how Sabai Homes operates. But property taxes, that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? What other recurring costs are we talking about?
If you're renting out your property, you'll likely have those property management fees to consider. Those usually cover things like tenant finding, rent collection, maintenance, the work.
And if you're not going with a management company, you've got to handle those costs yourself, which I imagine can be a bit of a headache.
Yeah, finding reliable contractors, making sure repairs are done on time. It can be a real challenge if you're not in Pattaya.
And expensive, I bet, if things go wrong.
Definitely. Those costs can add up fast, especially with unexpected repairs. So it's often more cost-effective and way less stressful to go with a reputable property management company to take care of all that for you.
So that peace of mind comes at a price, but it might be worth it in the long run, especially if it saves you from those big headaches down the road. But let's not forget about another recurring cost: utilities. What can people expect to pay for electricity, water, internet, things like that in Pattaya?
Well, utilities in Pattaya are generally pretty affordable compared to like a lot of Western countries.
Mm.
But keep in mind that electricity rates can fluctuate depending on the season and how much you're using.
Right, if you're blasting the AC all summer long, that bill's going to go up.
Exactly. But overall, utility costs aren't a major concern for most property owners in Pattaya. And, with that growing focus on sustainable living, a lot of the new developments are incorporating energy-efficient features, which can help keep those costs down.
So you're not only helping the environment, but you're also saving money in the long run.
Win-win.
Win-win. Okay, I think we've covered the cost side of things pretty well. Let's shift gears and get back to the exciting part: exploring those prime locations that are attracting investors in Pattaya.
Sounds good to me. Let's take that virtual tour of Pattaya's real estate hotspots and really dive into what makes each area unique.
I'm ready to go house hunting. Virtually speaking, of course. Where shall we start our exploration?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Pattaya real estate market. So we're ready to continue our exploration of those prime locations from the Sabai Homes report. Where are we headed next?
Well, we were just about to embark on that virtual tour of Pattaya's real estate hotspots. Remember?
Rates,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, let's start with Wongamat Beach. It's often called the Millionaire's Row of Pattaya. What makes it so special?
Wongamat Beach. Oh, It offers this incredible mix of luxury, exclusivity, and natural beauty. Think about those pristine beaches, crystal clear waters, and the skyline is just dotted with these high-end condos and luxurious villas. Many of them have breathtaking sea views, private pools, top-of-the-line amenities, you name it. It sounds like the ultimate escape, especially if you're looking for that luxurious beachfront lifestyle. But what about the more practical side of things? How easy is it to get to Wongamat? And what kind of infrastructure is in place to support this high-end living?
Well, Wongamat is conveniently located just north of Pattaya City. So it's easy to get to all the hustle and bustle of the city, all the entertainment, dining, shopping. And the area itself has well-maintained roads, reliable transportation options. Plus, there's a growing number of international schools and healthcare facilities.
So it's not just a secluded paradise, it's a well-connected and thriving community. But I imagine those luxurious properties in Wongamat, they come with a pretty hefty price tag, right?
That's true. Property prices in Wongamat Beach tend to be a bit higher than in other parts of Pattaya. It reflects the exclusivity and the high demand. But one thing that Sabai Homes points out is that this area also offers some of the highest rental yields and the strongest potential for capital appreciation in the entire city.
So it's an investment that could really pay off in the long run. But what about those who are looking for that high-end experience, but maybe in a slightly more tranquil setting? What other areas does the report recommend?
Well, Pratumnak Hill, often called the Beverly Hills of Pattaya, is another prime location that attracts a lot of investors.
Pratumnak Hill, I've heard so much about it. What is it that makes it stand out?
Pratumnak Hill offers this unique blend of tranquility, luxury, and convenience. It's a hillside enclave with these stunning panoramic views of Pattaya Bay and all those surrounding islands. You've got lush greenery, quiet streets, a much more relaxed atmosphere compared to the heart of Pattaya.
It sounds like the perfect retreat for someone who wants to escape the crowds, but still be close to the city's attractions.
Exactly. And even with that peaceful vibe, Pratumnak Hill is just a short drive from Pattaya City. So residents still have easy access to everything Pattaya has to offer.
You get the best of both worlds, peace and quiet when you want it, and the excitement of the city just minutes away. What about the properties themselves? What kind of real estate can investors expect to find in Pratumnak Hill?
Oh, you'll find a mix of everything. Luxurious villas, upscale condominiums, and even some boutique hotels. A lot of these properties have private pools, spacious living areas, and of course, those amazing views. Pratumnak Hill is also becoming known for its high-end restaurants, cafes, art galleries. It's really developing a reputation as a sophisticated and desirable place to live.
It definitely sounds like it caters to a certain type of buyer, someone who values exclusivity, tranquility, maybe a touch of sophistication. But what about those investors who are looking for a more laid-back vibe and a slightly more affordable price point? Does Pattaya offer options for those who aren't looking for the ultra-luxury experience?
Absolutely. Sabai Homes actually points to Jomtien Beach as a fantastic option for those seeking a more relaxed atmosphere and more accessible property prices.
Jomtien Beach, I've heard great things. What is it about Jomtien that appeals to a different type of investor?
Well, Jomtien Beach has this laid-back, almost village-like atmosphere. It's a big contrast to the energy of central Pattaya. You've got a beautiful stretch of coastline, a wide variety of restaurants and shops, and a large expat community. And the property prices in Jomtien, they're generally more affordable than in Wongamat or Pratumnak. It's a really attractive option for retirees, families, anyone on a tighter budget.
So it's a more accessible entry point into the Pattaya real estate market.
Yeah.
But you're not missing out on those essential elements of coastal living the beach, the relaxed vibe, the sense of community.
Exactly. And even though Jomtien has a quieter pace, it's still just a short drive from Pattaya City. So you're not isolated, you're just choosing a different lifestyle.
That makes sense. Now, what about those investors who are always looking to be ahead of the curve, the ones who are searching for the next up-and-coming area with the potential for high returns? Are there opportunities in Pattaya for those with a bit more of an adventurous investment strategy?
Oh, for sure. Sabai Homes has identified No Jomtien and Bang Sarai as emerging areas that are catching the eye of savvy investors.
Interesting. What makes these areas stand out as potential investment hotspots?
Well, Ne Jomtien and Bang Sarai are located south of Pattaya. They offer a much more serene and less developed environment compared to the city center. Think pristine beaches, tranquil fishing villages, a feeling of unspoiled beauty.
It sounds like a chance to really get away from it all and connect with nature.
Exactly. And while these areas are still relatively underdeveloped, they're starting to see a lot of interest from developers and investors. There are several new high-end residential projects in the works, and they're planning infrastructure improvements to make them even more accessible.
So it's a bit of a gamble, but for those who are willing to take a calculated risk, these areas could offer big rewards down the line.
That's what Sabai Homes is predicting. They believe that Jomtien and Bang Sarai offer a really exciting opportunity, especially for those who have a long-term investment horizon and are excited to be part of Pattaya's future growth.
This has been an incredible deep dive into Pattaya's prime locations. We've covered so much ground, from those ultra-luxurious spots like Wongamat Beach and Pratumnak Hill to the more laid-back charm of Jomtien and the emerging potential of Na Jomtien and Bang Sarai. It's amazing how many options Pattaya offers. There's something for every type of investor, every budget, every lifestyle.
And that's what makes Pattaya's real estate market so exciting. It's dynamic, it's constantly evolving, it really has something to offer everyone.
As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. Investing in real estate is a big decision, especially when you're talking about a foreign country. It's not something to jump into without careful consideration.
I completely agree. Doing your research, understanding the market, that's all crucial to making smart investment choices.
And that's where a resource like Sabai Homes can be so valuable. Their expertise, their local knowledge, their commitment to transparency, it's all evident in their report.
They're a trusted partner who can guide you through the entire process and help you make decisions that are right for you and your goals.
So for our listeners who are interested in exploring the Pattaya real estate market, remember, knowledge is power. Do your research, seek out expert advice, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
And most importantly, approach it with a sense of adventure. Be open to all the exciting possibilities that Pattaya has to offer.
That's a great note to end on. Our deep dive might be over, but your exploration of the Pattaya real estate market is just beginning. Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure. And best of luck with your real estate endeavors.